Hey everyone, Scott here. Now, I'm not being facetious when I say this could be the last straw for Aussies.
Do you agree with the estimates that groceries could go up 20% because of the war?
Well, obviously we know that there will be a flow through in the economy, and as I said, we're doing everything we can to shield Australians as much as we possibly can.
Do you think they could go up 20% though? Is that possible?
Certainly that's not the figures that Treasury is modelling at the moment, but this war is unpredictable. We don't know how long it's going to go for, Andrew, and we know that fertiliser input costs are also significant, so we do know this is impacting. And as I said, the big supermarkets at the moment, they're telling me, are trying to put downward pressure in terms of trying to protect consumers from those price increases at the moment.
From what you've just said, could we see groceries go up 5 to 10%, say?
We're working with industry. We are doing everything that we can do. We've got the Food and Grocery Council, we've got the ACCC.
I understand, but how much do you think grocery prices are going to go up because of this war?
Well, it depends on how long it goes for, Andrew, and it depends, on the impact further down the chain. Certainly what we're seeing at the moment is an initial impact.
Well, how do we know if we grow a crop we're going to have fuel to harvest? That's in the back of everyone's mind. I've been here 60 years and I've never made it.
The fuel costs for us that have been handed on to us have practically doubled. I mean, it's just something we just can't continue to wear. And then if I put my farmer hat back on that I'm wearing now, I think the farmers, like us as a dairy farmer, we're not really seeing the huge impacts right now, but they're certainly coming to us.
Did you hear what the agricultural minister said? She cannot rule out a 20% increase in food prices over the coming weeks. Cannot rule that out. Let me say that again. Not in weeks, but in months. Will not rule out a 20% increase to food prices. And then you've got farmers on the ground calling this the worst food crisis they've seen in their lifetime. We're talking 60, 70 years. It's gotten so bad that some of them are abandoning paddocks because they simply can't sow anything. And if that wasn't enough, Russia and China have now stopped exporting key fertilizers. Urea, sulfuric acid, the stuff that actually grows your food. They're holding it back for themselves. So you tell me, can it get any worse than this? Actually don't, because every time we think it can't get worse, it does. Right now, we're drowning in crises. Oil, food, housing, recession fears, and I keep asking myself, when does this end? Hey guys, it's Scott here, coming to you from Orange County in Los Angeles. And I don't mean to flood your feed with negative news every single day. Every time I scan around and look for something positive to bring you, actually, there is not a lot that I can. Is there anything positive? And honestly, there really isn't much to share. Now look around you. I'd rather you understand what's coming now than get blindsided later. And that's my job here, is to warn you and prepare you so that your money, your finances can be all set in order. Because this actually feels a little bit like COVID again. Remember the panic buying, toilet paper, canned food, people stocking up like the world was ending? We're starting to see that behavior again. But this time it's only the beginning. Experts are warning that this crisis has the potential to get much worse than what we saw during COVID. And the scary part is most Aussies still don't understand what's actually happening because mainstream media isn't connecting the dots. And that's exactly why I am making this video. I'm going to show you why Australia could be heading towards the worst food crisis in the last 60 years. Because if you think about it, the Iran crisis is global. Everyone is dealing with it. But why is it that Australia is getting hit so much harder? Where did we go wrong? I'll break down the real reasons behind this, what has actually caused it, who is responsible, and most importantly, what you should be preparing for over the next few months. Because I'll be honest with you, with better governance and better policy decisions, we should not be in a situation like this. Now, before we get into it, you know that I cover the economy, policy, and property, your finances, your financial freedom every single day. So hit subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss a single update. Let's get into it. Okay, so everyone is focused on petrol right now. Oil prices, interest rates, cost of living, fair enough. That pain is real and you feel it instantly. But what if I told you the bigger problem hasn't even started yet? Because what is building right now in the background is a food crisis, and it works very differently to an oil crisis. Oil hits you immediately. You see it at the pump the next day. Food, on the other hand, does not. Food hits later, and when it does, it lingers. That is exactly what is happening right now. Farmers across Australia are already saying they have not seen conditions like this in 70 years. And the scary part is that we have not seen the real impact yet. What you're seeing right now, slightly more expensive tomatoes, slightly higher grocery bills, that is just the early stage. The real impact shows up when the crops that were supposed to be planted simply were not, and you see empty food shelves at the supermarket. And this is not just about oil going up and food going up. The crisis is a product of multiple things breaking at the same time. Fertilizer, diesel, logistics, weather, all hitting the system together. So let's actually break it down properly, because once you see how all of this connects, you'll realize this is much bigger than what you were being told. Let's start with the one thing most people are not even aware of: fertilizer. Because without fertilizer, there is no food. It is that simple. Right now, global fertilizer supply is getting squeezed from multiple sides. Nearly 1/3 of global fertilizer trade moves through the Strait of Hormuz, which is now heavily disrupted. At the same time, Russia, which controls about 40% of key fertilizer exports, has stopped shipping to protect its own farming season. China has also tightened exports, not just urea, but even critical chemicals used to produce fertilizer. So what you have is supply getting cut from both ends at the exact same time. Now, when that happens, prices explode. Fertilizer prices have already jumped significantly, with nitrogen fertilizer prices rising by around 40% since the conflict began. And whatever is left is becoming unaffordable for farmers. Now think about this from a farmer's perspective. If your input costs go up massively, you know you cannot sell your crops at 5 or 6 times the price. The math simply does not work. What are farmers going to do? They are cutting back. They are abandoning paddocks. Some are switching to crops that need less fertilizer. Others are just not planting at all. In fact, surveys are already showing that more than a quarter of growers have reduced or stopped planting because of the uncertainty around diesel, fertilizer, and costs. And here is the most important part. Farming does not work on a flexible timeline. There is a planting window. If you miss it, that's it. The crop does not exist this coming season. Australia is in the exact window right now for winter crops. So even if fertilizer supply magically improves in a few weeks, it does not matter. The opportunity, the window, is gone. The food that was supposed to be grown this season simply will not be there later. That is why this crisis is delayed. You will not feel it today. You will not see it in supermarkets today. You will feel it when those missing crops were supposed to show up on supermarket shelves in the future. And when they do not, that is when prices really start moving, and this will be inflationary. Now layer on top of that the diesel problem, which is honestly just as bad, if not worse. Most people think fuel is fuel. It is not. Your car runs on petrol. The entire economy runs on diesel. Diesel powers farm equipment, irrigation systems, harvesting machines, trucks, refrigeration, even fertilizer production itself. Around 85% of farms in Australia rely on diesel to operate. Right now, diesel prices have doubled to more than $3 a litre in some areas. But it is more than just price. It is also availability. Farmers are literally saying they do not know if they have enough fuel to harvest what they grow. Some fuel deliveries are being diverted because someone else is willing to pay more. Suppliers are running dry. One supplier even said a 46,000 litre delivery was diverted because another buyer paid more. That tells you how brutal this market has become. So now think about what that means. Even if a farmer wants to plant, they might not have fertilizer. Even if they have fertilizer, they might not have enough diesel to run the equipment. And even if they manage to grow something, they might not have any diesel to run harvesting equipment. And after all those hurdles, they manage to harvest something, they might not have the fuel to transport it. In fact, there are warnings that up to 70% of truck drivers could be out of work within 6 months if this continues. That means even if food exists, it may not get from the farms to the cities. Do you see how doomed this could potentially be? This is one problem. This is the entire supply chain getting squeezed at the same time from multiple angles. That is why farmers are sounding the alarm and calling it a breaking point, not because of one issue, but because everything is hitting them at one time. One dairy producer said it is already costing him $1.90 in freight just to get 1 2-litre bottle of milk into a supermarket shelf. If freight alone is doing that to 1 bottle of milk, imagine what happens across meat, produce, dairy, and every fresh item in the country. This is a genuine worry, and I don't see the government doing much about it. Now let's bring this back to you. Right now, you are starting to see early signs. Suppliers are already adding fuel surcharges. Some are paying 10% more just to move goods. The cost eventually lands on your grocery bill. We are already hearing warnings that grocery prices could rise by 20%, potentially even 30% in some cases. And the agriculture minister herself has said she cannot rule that out. Supermarkets and food manufacturers are already warning that cost pressures are building, and analysts are saying that as much as 70% of the shelf price is the cost of goods, which means retailers cannot just absorb everything forever, even if they wanted to. Fresh food will get hit first. Meat, vegetables, dairy, anything that depends on transport and refrigeration. That is where you will notice it immediately. At the same time, supply may not just get expensive, it may get thinner. Some products may simply not be there at all. And people are already reacting to this. You're already seeing early signs of panic buying again. People are stocking up on canned food, rice, long life items, the same behavior we saw during COVID. Some manufacturers have already reported pantry loading demand rising by as much as 20% in recent weeks. That tells you something. People are not just worried about prices, they are worried about availability. And you know what the most frustrating part of this mess is? No other country is as exposed as Australia right now. Countries like the US, Canada, or even Russia can produce a lot of their own inputs. They can stop exports and prioritize domestic use. Australia cannot. We are heavily dependent on imported fuel, imported fertilizer, and global supply chains that we do not control, which means when something breaks globally, we feel it faster and we feel it harder. We are one of the largest energy producers in the world, yet our Prime Minister is flying to Brunei, cap in hand, asking for fertilizer, begging for fertilizer, and going to Singapore begging for oil. So you have to ask yourself, what is stopping us from producing our own fuel and our own fertilizer? How did we become this dependent? That is exactly why I make these videos every single day, no matter how uncomfortable the truth is. I want Aussies to understand the situation for what it really is, because a lot of this is preventable. With better policy and better long-term planning, we can avoid these things. And unless people start paying attention and speaking up, this won't be the last time we end up in a situation like this, paying the price for a crisis that started 7 oceans away. So now that you've got this warning and you've got the full picture, I want to ask you this. Do you think the food crisis is actually going to hit harder than the oil crisis? Or do you think this is something that will pass in a few months? And more importantly, how long do you think this is going to last? Are we talking 6 months, or are we in this for the next year? Let me know what you think. I am genuinely curious to hear your take. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I genuinely appreciate everyone's support on this channel. I genuinely read every single comment. And remember, when all our voices join together as one, as our numbers grow, as the community grows, the government must stand up and take notice. I'll see you guys at the next video.